So I suppose you're wondering why I brought you all here today. But now comes the time to ask the most inevitable question. Does this look affected to you? Okay, you guys, so this was something today that I had a total freak out meltdown over. And I kind of was hyperventilating a little bit because it's rare that I find a potential Mandela effect or change that, like, I know 100% was a certain way, and all of a sudden I'm seeing it as not that. Here we have Exxon, and I'm just talking Exxon, not Exxon Mobil, but Exxon, the way I almost remember it on top. And I say almost because it's still not the way I remember it, and I can't even find any residual evidence of it. Of course, if I found any residual evidence, I would think it was real evidence because that's the way I remember it. But I remember Exxon as having been all blue letters, and one of the X's was red and one of the X's was blue. And I remember this fairly specifically because when I was learning to read, Exxon, of course, for a 6-year-old girl would have been very, very easy to read. And I remember standing in the living room of this local farmer's house, because I know it's going to sound weird, this local farmer's house, because I was spending the night with his daughter, who was like, she was kind of my babysitter, and they had all these sheep and pigs and cows, and I just loved to go out and pet them. But I was sleeping over, they were taking care of me while my parents were away for the weekend, and I remember staring, looking at the television set, and he's like, "Can you read that, Jennifer?" And I'm like, "Yeah," and I go, "Exxon," and I remember remarking that it's Exxon, but the two X's are different colors, the blue and the red. And it was really weird because for whatever reason today, the only reason I looked up the Exxon logo was that I was thinking of the Mobil station and having a conversation with my friend the other day about Mobil and how that looks different and how she was freaked out by it. So I just thought to look up Exxon today, and I could not find any logos the way that I remembered it. Now right here I'm on a limited internet search, but right here, this is mostly the way that I saw it when I looked it up today. All red letters. But the letters itself in terms of the shape look exactly the same. But these are more or less the stills that I got. I just got screenshots from my search today, and now I'm doing it on my friend's computer. But anyway, so all red, that looks totally wrong to me. And then all red again. It just looks totally wrong. And I thought maybe it was just an internet thing, like maybe on the sides of gas stations it wasn't that. Because when you think about it, the Mobil and the Mobil Gas and the Chevron, they're all red, white, and blue. But this is only white and red, and I just can't account for it because it looks so wrong to me. I've never seen such a thing. I've never seen an Exxon sign that looks so colorless, comparatively speaking. More colorlessness, and you see down below again, just the red and the white as the sign on the side of the actual Exxon. Now, the one up top, aside from the ill-shaped letters and the fact that it's actually all red rather than blue, is more how I remember it, but still not quite any kind of cigar. And I actually looked up Mandela effects for the Exxon sign specifically, and I didn't find any. That's why you see that girl, that crazy-looking girl up there, because I just wanted to show you guys that I had done it on a YouTube Mandela effect search, and that girl up there is talking about the Kennedy assassination, which we can all agree is still quite insane. But you know, ExxonMobil's gone from 2 colors down to 1, or actually I should count white as a color, I guess 3 colors down to 2, but even still, so weird. And it's also kind of weird that this one in particular is right next to the McDonald's sign. I don't know why. I don't know why it's right next to a McDonald's sign, but that's one of the closest approximations as to how I remember it. And I do remember the red X in front. The red X in front of the blue, I should specify. Again, like what I was introduced to, the top one, closer to what I remember, the one I opened with, but it's missing the red X in front. And this just looks really weird to me, like just lit up at night. Now, the light behind it is blue, but that doesn't count, and that's not what I'm talking about. I can't account for it. And red is also one of my favorite colors, too. It's pretty much my favorite color. So you'd think I would remember it as such for that aspect alone. And then I looked up an article on why certain logos are colored certain ways. Now, of course, some people think that I could be confusing the blue in it with the line underneath, but even still, if you look at the actual signs on the sides of gas stations the way I would have always seen them and remembered them, and the only depicted signs I could find online, they're all red. So even still, there's no blue line under them. But, so what I read about the Exxon logo is that Exxon is the grandchild of the oil company started by Rockefeller, and the logo is believed to have a hidden reference to this famous man. The logo appears to be straightforward and very similar to other fuel company logos, with a familiar patriotic color scheme, black lettering, which I don't understand too, because actually I was reading this website and this webpage, and they talked about black lettering on the chevron, and I looked up, and it was dark blue lettering, so I don't even understand what that's talking about. So, scheme black lettering in a rectangular shape that is, black lettering in a rectangular shape that is serious. So in other words, black lettering is serious and straightforward. However, the two X's are intertwined in a way that when tilted 45 degrees forms the Cross of Lorraine, a Masonic symbol that held importance to the Freemason founder. But also, another thing that I read about the Exxon logo is that there are two crosses next to each other. In other words, it signifies to double cross someone. And that I think I got from David Icke. And it's funny too, because I went back and I looked up, I did a video on Chevron, like back in October of 2017. So I looked up to see if there was any reality residue there, because I did look up the Exxon logo and there wasn't. The Exxon logo, even back in October 2017, was all red, or it's caught up to reality. All the same, it's just really strange because, when I first was looking up the Exxon logo, I thought to myself, oh, well, maybe some of them are red, but then I kept scrolling and scrolling and scrolling through Google, and I didn't find any that were blue with the one red X, at least not the way I remember it. Last but not least, I thought this was kind of weird. When I looked up the Exxon logo on my friend's PC, and I looked it up, his homepage is, it's MS Webmail. I thought, well, maybe I'm getting a limited options for the search because it's limited. It's like MS. So I went to Google on his computer, and the same thing came up first, the same top thing. When I looked up Exxon logo, for whatever reason, it says Fiverr.com. And I clicked on the page and it said I had to sign in to essentially join Fiverr, or whoever that is. If this is significant to any of you, I would be curious to know. The reason it's significant to me is that there was somebody in the Mandela effect community named Fiverr. I'm not exactly sure what happened to him. I think he might have gone off and created his own channel and joined a different group. But regardless, I know that he was always sort of pointing things out to a lot of us, including myself. Oh, excuse that. He was pointing, this is what we do here at Gensploration. It's all very laissez-faire. It's not the word I'm looking for. But anyway, so it's just really weird. And I would have had to have joined the site to log on to it. And then I forgot what I was going to say. Hold on one second. Basically, what I was going to say is that I never trusted Logopedia. Oh, and that's the other thing, too. I wasn't able to find a logology. I like that word. I just made it up. I'm going to keep it. A logology for Exxon Mobil. I don't even think they do them anymore online, because I kept looking, and I kept looking up things like Exxon throughout the years, Mobil throughout the years, and Google would use to say, okay, this is what the logo looked like from this year to this year. This is what the logo looked like from this year to this year, because I thought maybe it changed or maybe it used to be that way, but I couldn't do it. And then Logopedia never made any sense to me, because whenever we used to look up stuff on Logopedia, you could not find it on Google, but there was this weird way that it was routed. So a part of me almost thinks that Logopedia was, well, I don't want to call it a hoax, but just Logopedia was not on the level. And of course, if the Mandela effect is a psyop, Logopedia was created exactly for the Mandela effect. But this is strange too. Fiverr.com. I tried to go to the site and figure out who this person was, or who Fiverr was, but it may just be a logo designer, but I find the coincidence very strange and very odd. And I'm sorry if I sound distracted, but I'm just at a different computer tonight, and I'm just Not to myself tonight. But anyway, this Mandela effect, or possible Mandela effect, seriously made me want to hyperventilate, man. With all this red, it just looks so not the way it did. It just looks so wrong. Anyway, just let me know. Does this look affected to you? I'd be very, very curious to hear your thoughts, because honestly, guys, this is one of the ones I'm much more certain of. All right, that's about all. Peace out. Oh my gosh, this is so pretty. Anyway, now that see, I love that orange above the actual mountain. Anyway, now that I'm out in the fresh air and out of the confines of my friend's apartment, who I always feel weird when I know somebody's listening to me. But sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. Anyway, what I want to say about Logopedia, the thing that bothered me about that, and I couldn't articulate my words perfectly or correctly the way I wanted to, is that what I found so fishy about Logopedia is that you can never, if you typed in www.logopedia.com, you couldn't find it. It would come up as if it didn't exist. You had to do a search in Google and then it would come up. And then I think the last time I tried it, I couldn't access it. So I don't know what's up with Logopedia, but I have not looked up stuff on Logopedia in a while. And now on YouTube, not on YouTube, on Google, see, that helicopter distracted me. Now on Google, you can't, at least I have not been able to find logos by their years either, which is really, really weird. And with that Fiverr thing, I'm not saying that it has anything to do with it, but it certainly was a weird coincidence. And yes, I do believe in coincidences. I'm not one of those spiritual characters that like, oh, there are no coincidences. Yes, there are. And there are reasons things happen. Some of them just happen to be really dumb ones. All right, I'm not trying to have a demotivational speaking contest with anybody. And how can you really be oh, look, there's the moon. And anyway, how can you really be demotivated when you're looking at this beautiful scene? All right, now I promise I'm really done. Okay, peace out.